and welcome back to Business Class. Thank you so much for coming back to me, being my friend. So today's episode, I am going to hone in on imposter syndrome because when I asked a few weeks ago on my Instagram what episodes you would like to see from me and what things you are struggling with as business owners, I got so many people speaking about imposter syndrome and feeling like you don't fit in places, that you're maybe not good enough to be in certain places, what that means, how to deal with it. So I thought that's what I would speak about today. Before I start off, as per usual, let's go through takeoffs and departures. So my takeoff this week is that I've been trying to book more things in that I have been putting off. So for me, that's like I don't really have time for a social life outside of the business. So I've been trying to book more like meals in with people or like dog walks, like just to actually go outside and socialize. And then also business things, like there's been things that we've been putting off for ages, like brand shoots, stuff for my own personal brand that I've put off for ages. And it does just take 5 minutes to book things in and then it's done. But we make it seem like such a big task in our head. So pat on the back for me for booking things in. My departure this week has just been really boring stuff like copywriting and trademarking and like all of the faff that comes with that. And it is just really a nightmare. Like if you're wanting to launch anything new, looking at trademarking and copywriting is such a boring task and I've really not enjoyed it. And that is what the majority of my week has been built on. So short and sweet from me, I will dive right on into today's episode all about imposter syndrome. So, imposter syndrome. I feel like everyone knows what imposter syndrome is. For those who don't, it is basically the feeling of just feeling like you're not meant to be somewhere, you don't deserve to be somewhere. So I think imposter syndrome in a way has been one of those terms that everyone does throw about a lot. And it's like, how do you deal with imposter syndrome? I think people most of the time don't actually know what imposter syndrome is. And it's just like a term that's been stuck onto people that don't feel like they fit in. And sometimes it just makes it sound a lot worse than it is. But I think the thing with imposter syndrome is that everyone feels it. Everyone's had times in their life where they feel like they're not supposed to be in a certain room, or you might be doing something huge and literally feel like, I shouldn't be doing this, I'm not good enough to do it. And everyone feels it. And I think it always in some way links back to your insecurities and things that you have dealt with growing up. And, you know, I think particularly as British people, we're told all the time that we can't do things and that we shouldn't be speaking about things. So I think it's quite natural that Brits have imposter syndrome, because I feel like in the US, for example, everyone's a lot more bolder and louder and proud of their achievements. They speak about their achievements, which I love. I feel like in the UK, it's very much still like you're really big-headed if you speak about your achievements. You really up yourself. She thinks she's all that because she's done this. So we've been like conditioned to like downplay our achievements and not speak about things that we're really proud of. So I think it makes sense that a lot of us have imposter syndrome. And I feel like it does sort of link back to almost like childhood behavior, because when we feel like an imposter, so say if you go to a business networking event, and if you're anything like me, I like to sometimes, like if I'm feeling really shy or really out of my depth somewhere, I'll almost like mirror people's behaviors. And it's sort of like the thing we would do as children, like when we would be in situations where we felt uncomfortable or scared, you'll like mirror how everyone else is feeling to try and fit in. And I would do that for years to try and make me fit in with everyone else. But I think growing up, and especially being in business and getting to go to so many events and I don't know, shows and bits and bobs like that, where you're meeting such fascinating people that in your head are so big and larger than life, and you think, wow, they just must have everything together. Like every single person gets imposter syndrome. I think the only person I have known that said they'd never had imposter syndrome was Emma Greed. And if you don't know who that is, she is like a boss bitch, female entrepreneur. She's done amazing. And she said that she doesn't feel imposter syndrome because she's like, I've worked really hard to get where I am. I deserve to be here. So I don't feel like an imposter. And I'm like, fair play to you, Emma. And I know what she means, because there's some things in my life, I'm such like a manifester, where I'm like, I get somewhere, and because I've worked so hard to get there and I've always known that I wanted to get there, it literally feels like I'm like, it makes sense that I'm here. I'm not an imposter. But I think it's just so normal. It's such a normal human emotion. I personally think that when you are dealing with imposter syndrome, the reason why you're feeling it is because you're leveling up in life. And I feel like when you are leveling up, taking things to the next level, imposter syndrome is one of those things that you're going to feel because you're out of your depths. You're doing something that feels uncomfortable. I think when you're leveling up, you go through imposter syndrome. You lose a lot of friends when you're leveling up because you're not quite aligned with those people anymore. You feel exhausted at the minute. I feel very exhausted. I am definitely leveling up at the minute. Please, I hope so. Otherwise, why do I feel so exhausted all the time? Because your body is constantly filled with adrenaline. You feel uncomfortable. I feel like something I'm going through at the minute as I'm on my level up is that every day I'm in like fight or flight, because I'm like, what is the thing that I'm going to have to sort out today? And that's why I feel so exhausted all the time. I feel like another sign you're leveling up is that you are second guessing your decisions because it's not how you maybe would have used to have handled things. So when you are understanding your worth, or you are stepping into your own shoes a little bit more in your own power, is that you second guess a lot of things that you say, because you're like, oh God, was that a bit too snappy or a bit too rude or a bit too rash? But it's like, no, that was just me having boundaries in place and sticking up for myself, which I wouldn't have used to have done. So you second guess things more because it's new behavior. And another sign you're leveling up is that you don't have things in common with the same people anymore. So it might be you've had friends and family that you've had all your life, and you haven't got anything in common with them anymore because you've outgrown them and that version of yourself. And I think that these are all things that tie to imposter syndrome. It's like when you are stepping into another realm and another version of yourself, it's like it feels so foreign and abnormal to you. So dealing with imposter syndrome, how do I deal with it? I don't really know if anyone knows how to deal with imposter syndrome. It's just something you live with and you feel, and it's just constantly telling yourself you are deserving of things. And I was doing a little bit of research about imposter syndrome the other day, and apparently the like scientific way to get over imposter syndrome and like eliminate it is through doing gratitude every day, because it's being thankful of the position that you're in, why you've got to that place, understanding how you've got to that place. For me, with gratitude, I find it really hard because A, it's another habit that I have to put into my routine, which I don't really have time to do, and I definitely will forget to do it. And B, I think it's so hard to write gratitude and like list things that you're grateful for when you feel really shit. And we all have days like that when it's like, I'm just exhausted, everything's going wrong, I'm not really thankful for anything, but there always is stuff to be thankful for, even if you're breathing and alive. Let's be thankful for that. So I think that makes sense, that gratitude is a solution for imposter syndrome. Do I personally do that to get rid of it? No. I would say when I feel the most imposter syndrome is when I am doing things that I have always envisioned doing, or really big things where I'm like the center of attention, or a lot of things rely on me. So I think I felt a lot of imposter syndrome when I started doing speaking on stages, or I feel a lot of imposter syndrome when people say nice things to me, like if I meet them out and about and they say that they like my content, or I've helped them, or when I was meeting people at our events, because I'm like, me? Like I've had so many years of people telling me negative things and not supporting me that it literally feels like they're speaking to the wrong person when they say like, oh, you're so inspiring, or you're so smart. I'm like, what? Like it literally feels like I shouldn't be there. I think when you have imposter syndrome, the way that I've been dealing with it, I guess, in the way that I can, is thinking about you're overriding your previous thoughts about yourself with new ones. So I think whenever you start anything new, whether it's a new job or you're in a new relationship, you're going to feel uncomfortable. Some people will label that as imposter syndrome. But the more evidence you get that it's fine and that it's normal and that you're meant to be there, the less that it goes away. And I think that for me, because I've had so many years of bad friendships and bad experiences with people, that it's taken me a lot longer to get over imposter syndrome, because I'll be at places where, you know, I'm speaking on stage and I can't understand how people are sat, you know, they've paid for a ticket, they're sat listening to me. I'm like, why are they doing that? I don't understand why you'd want to sit and listen to me speak. And it's like, I've just thought of it as, it's like you're overriding, you know, like an SD card that you put in a camera. It's like that is full of old memories and you're overriding it with new ones. And the more you do it, the more it will feel comfortable, and the more that it means that you're adjusting to this new life. So when I was asking you lovely lot about imposter syndrome, some of the main things that were raised in terms of what you get imposter syndrome for and with is things like pricing your services or your products. Because I think when you're pricing something more expensive, you're like, who am I to charge £2,000 for this? Or, you know, no one's going to buy that from me. You have so many doubts about that. A lot of people said they had imposter syndrome with content creation and showing up in front of the camera and showing up as an expert and an industry leader, because you're like, I'm not. Selling, a lot of people have imposter syndrome with. I know especially a lot of friends and family and people I know that are in the wellness industry and that help people out through like mindset or mind, body, soul, and spirit. They have a lot of imposter syndrome with selling, because they're like, I just want to help people. They don't like the money that's attached to it and having to sell to people, but we have to make a living. A lot of people said they struggled with like managing authority, public speaking, and then also going to things like networking and into new rooms and holding yourself. So I would say with all of the above, obviously it's all to do with like self-limiting beliefs and believing that you shouldn't be charging that amount or you shouldn't be saying that thing, and thinking about why you think that. And like I said, it is overriding it with new evidence. So I feel like I only became really confident with like my pricing and selling when I was confident in what we did. And that took me a good couple of years to get to that point. But at the start, it's only normal to feel hesitant to charge. Like things are so normal. I think people really beat themselves up nowadays because personal branding is great and there's so many entrepreneurs that are showing their journey, but I think a lot of people compare themselves to them, and they might have just started a business 2 months ago and they're like, oh, I'm still undercharging. I'm like, babe, it's 2 months in. Give yourself a break. Like, you're still learning how to do all of this stuff. It's normal. And if I didn't feel imposter syndrome in situations that I have, I wouldn't feel as grateful to be in places that I are. I just expect that everything's going to be fine. I'm going to feel normal. I think whenever you're feeling imposter syndrome, it is linking back to you are supposed to be there. You've been invited there to speak, to sell, to whatever. You're in that position. You're allowed to be there. When you are at some sort of event, because I feel like a lot of us feel imposter syndrome when it is at an event and it's out in public, because yes, you're going to feel imposter syndrome when you're in the comfort of your own office on a sales call, but I feel like it really does come to surface when it's out in real life. And some little habits that I've been very consciously trying to do when I am going to maybe events or business meetings or, you know, meeting with a client, or I feel like it a lot when I am the youngest person in the room, is to like, again, act like you're supposed to be there. Stop apologizing and over explaining. I say sorry for everything. So it's like, sorry, can I just grab that? Oh, sorry, I don't like that. Sorry, I don't know that. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry. And sorry is a very negative word and it has such negative perceptions. Like, don't apologize. Another thing that I have noticed from me, I'm very observative, is that when I can always tell if I'm at an event now that I'm quite comfortable at, when someone has imposter syndrome, is when people make fun of themselves. So say I'm at a business event, which I feel like I'm quite used to going to now, so I feel okay about them. And there'll be someone new there that I know. They'll be like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. Oh my God, I'm like the youngest person in this room. Lol, I definitely don't make as much money as these people. Like, you are literally drawing attention to the fact that you don't fit in, because when you do go to things like events or whatever that may be, no one knows that you're new. No one knows how much money you make. No one actually realistically cares how old you are. You're literally drawing attention to that fact. And I used to always put myself down like that. So I always used to go to events and people used to be like, hi, nice to meet you. What do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm definitely like not as successful as you, but and then I just make fun of myself. And it's just so like self-deprecating, if that's the word. Another thing I've been trying to do, like not even just in business, but just in everyday life, is to be more slow, like moving more slowly, walking slowly, speaking slowly is just so chic. It's so like confident, articulate, and it just makes you seem so much more confident than you are. So let's say you're at this event, you're really nervous, walking in like with your shoulders back, standing up tall, not like crouched over your phone looking nervous and uncomfortable, is such like a magnet to other people to come and want to speak to you. So whenever I'm going anywhere now, walking slowly, like trying not to like juggle my bag and my phone and my drink and things like that, and just slowing it down, thinking about what I'm going to say. I am such a word vomiter. So when I do go to events or I'm doing a meeting with a new client, or say I'm doing a strategy meeting for a huge client that I'm really nervous for, I would have used to have like word vomited everywhere and just been like, because God knows what comes out of my mouth. And now I just really try and slow it down more. And you can leave pauses and gaps in between what you say. You don't have to word vomit everywhere. And it just makes you feel not only calmer, it makes you regret less of what you've said, because I know for a fact that when I go to new things where I feel imposter syndrome, I come back feeling drained. I come back going, I wish I never went. And what the hell did I say? Why did I say that? Just slow it down is a massive thing that I've been trying to do. And people just respond better to that. You're a lot more easier to speak to. And you can actually think about what you're going to say before you say it. But I think everyone has imposter syndrome for different reasons. And I believe a few weeks ago, one of my episodes was about like therapy, and every single thing you deal with and that comes up always goes back to the good old childhood. So if you have imposter syndrome about getting in front of the camera and making videos, is it that you've just labeled yourself as having imposter syndrome? Or is it actually that you're really scared about what Cheryl, who lives down the road, thinks of you, or like the women at work think of you? If you have imposter syndrome about selling, is that because maybe you've not been brought up around money and it feels really uncomfortable for you to quote someone a big price and to sell to people? If you have imposter syndrome about managing an authority, is that because people didn't hear you when you were younger and didn't listen to you? Because I think wherever I feel like my imposter syndrome lies always links back to my life and my childhood. So, like I said, I get imposter syndrome when I speak on stages, because when I was younger, no one listened to me. I have imposter syndrome when people say nice things to me or come up to me and say, I love you, Vic. I love your story. You inspire me. Because I didn't really get much validation like that when I was growing up from like friends and family. So now when people say nice things to me, I always think they're lying or they're saying it for some other gain that they might want. So I actually think, I'm going to be honest, imposter syndrome doesn't really exist. I think it's just a term that someone's made up and stuck onto people when they feel uncomfortable. And if you feel uncomfortable, it's because you're growing. So I think no one actually has imposter syndrome and that it doesn't really exist. And it's actually you just sticking a plaster on to a bigger issue. That's my plot twist version of the episode. So really think about, like, what do you always say to people like, I get such bad imposter syndrome about? And it's actually for another reason. And Everyone that I have ever met that's successful in business, minus Emma Greed, even though I've actually never met her, maybe I never will, I hope I do, they've all said they have imposter syndrome. I think I'm kind of sick of saying the word imposter syndrome now after this episode, but the point is that everyone in business has got to this point from not really knowing what they're doing. I think to be a business owner, you have to be like a different breed of person. And most business owners that I have met in life have usually had quite a similar path. We're usually like misfits, or we didn't really do that well at school, or maybe we were quite naughty at school and we didn't like being told what to do because we're unemployable. If you're a business owner, it's really hard to, I couldn't go back to a 9 to 5 and I wouldn't want to be employed because I don't like being told what to do. So everyone has it. Everyone feels like they have imposter syndrome because it's like, how have we actually got here? I don't know. No one really knows what they're doing. I don't really know what I'm doing half the time. It's just an act. Like, no one really knows. So just to wrap it up a little bit is I hope this episode's brought you some comfort in knowing no one knows what they do. I'm just going to say it. Imposter syndrome doesn't exist. It is just you putting a quick little sticker and label on something that needs addressing further, because that's what it is. Like, the people that I know that are really confident and, very like sure of themselves don't have much imposter syndrome. And I'm definitely getting there. Like, a lot of the time, because I've done so much work on my mindset and well-being and beliefs, that I do feel quite deserving of everything that I get. Because I'm like, do you know what? I've worked bloody hard to get here and I deserve to be here. And I would say the only times nowadays I get imposter syndrome, is when I have to go to something much bigger and I am leveling up and I'm trying to adjust to this new life or this new experience, which is just normal as human beings. We're not going to feel confident and safe everywhere. We're going to be on the lookout and feel on edge, like go in fight or flight and try and find evidence of people like us or evidence that we can fit in. And that's not going to happen overnight. So take some comfort in that. Go easy on yourself. No one knows what they are doing in business. I haven't got a clue. And that's like pretty much all from me today. God knows what I've just said. I've got imposter syndrome right now. But I love doing these. I just love speaking about being in business because, again, it's just like a term that's thrown around so much, imposter syndrome, that's what people ask me about. And I just know that everyone will have different reasons because everyone's got different problems that they've had growing up that is now coming out. And the best thing you can do as a business owner is invest in like therapy, mindset, understanding things, because it will keep coming back to bite you in the bum. Trust me, for me, it still comes back. So if you made it this far into this rambly episode where I'm really hot right now because it's like the peak of summer, I'm sweating in this room, please do me a favor, rate it 5 stars on wherever you're listening, Spotify, Apple. Honestly, it makes my day. Every time that number goes up by an extra, I'm like, oh my God, it's an extra person. I get so excited. Subscribe to us on YouTube, like the video, share it with whomever you feel, follow us on Insta, send me a message, let's be best friends, and I will see you next time in business class.